Alright guys, we're going to talk a bit about different values and different textures and how to create them in your drawings. So for this assignment we're going to use pencils that have different value. It's a little difficult to see. Let's see if this helps. Maybe. Alright, so the pencils you have available to use have different values. The darkest one is 6B. The first thing you're going to do on your paper or in your sketchbook, wherever you're working, is to create a little mini value scale with the pencils you have and label them. I've started with the darkest pencil, which is 6B, and I'm working my way up. 4B, 2B, B, HB, I have 2H and 4H, and you can see as I move up, the pencils are getting lighter. The way I remember which ones are lighter and which ones are darker is the H pencils are harder, H for harder, B for softer, HB is in the middle. So having these different values available to use can help you create different textures in your artwork and make things easier to shade. So if you have a large area where it's really dark, a 6B is going to accomplish that a lot faster and make for a lot smoother dark value than a harder pencil. So once you've created your value scale there on the side, you're going to, with a pencil in the middle, I'll use an HB, you're going to draw 12 circles. They don't need to be perfect. 12 circles, something like that, that takes up the majority of your page. What you're going to do is you're going to create a light source here, and you are going to shade these circles accordingly and make them into spheres. However, each one must have a different texture. I will list some ideas for you in Google Classroom, but you can use any texture words you'd like. So we know that once a light source is coming this way, the closest area to a light source is the lightest and the furthest away is the darkest. So I'm going to get a darker, a 4B pencil. And because I have papers underneath that are not even, I'm getting a weird line there. So I'm going to stack these, make a nice flat even surface. We're going to have a little contest, a little texture drawing contest. So I can create light values with this darker pencil just by pressing lighter and lighter as I go. It's a softer pencil, it goes on nice and smooth. So that texture there is kind of messy, I'll call it. And I'm going to keep going. Here, I'm going to do this one super smooth. So I'm using a 4B, but I am pressing lighter. What I want to do is create a smooth surface, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to create a different texture here. I'm going to go with slimy. You know that a texture describing word, you can get creative, and I'll show you some examples from my previous years doing this project. Alright, now to make it smooth I have a couple different options. I could just take my time with the pencil like I'm doing now and go over it to fill in those lighter spots. I could use my finger and smudge it. I could use a tissue, or I could use a blending tool. And if you're doing this in class, you will have those available. I'll send some home with you. What it does is it takes the graphite on your page and just moves it around, just like I'm doing with my finger. The blending tool will do the same thing. It won't be as messy. What I'm going to do now I can't remember the texture word I said, slimy maybe. I'm going to make it look like this is shimmery and drippy. So I'm going to create a little drip. I'm going to create a little shadow underneath it. I'm going to use an eraser and create a little highlight inside that area. Do the same thing a couple times. I'm going to make a little highlight, a couple highlights here. Fill this in. So eventually, I'm going to have this looking like, I'm going to make the edge a little wobbly here. I think that'll help make it look like it's liquidy. Maybe even a puddle underneath it. Okay, so that's slimy. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to try rough. I'm going to try a bumpy. All of them are going to be shaded according to the same light source. So all of them will have a highlight here and will get darker as they turn away. I have some examples here done before. So rough, here you can see I've erased into my circle. Made little gaps in there. It looks like it's crumbling. Maybe like a stale donut hole. Fuzzy. These I look like I spent a bit more time on here. Smooth, hairy, sticky. Oh, same kind of thing I was doing, but more of it here. Soft, bumpy, spiky, spongy. So like I said, there'll be a list for you to work from. I'd like you to get creative. We're going to have a contest here, and there's 3 categories. 3 categories in which you could win. We're going to vote in class. We're going to vote for the most creative texture or drawing. We're going to vote for the best shading. And we're going to vote for the best texture. So 3 different ways you can win. As always, you can tell my light source. The light is above, lighter to darker. Each one, no matter the texture, is lighter to darker. So what pencils create the best texture? Well, the softer ones, the 4B, 6B, will be good for laying down a base coat of value. Those are the best for laying down a base coat. They're also the best at making the darkest marks. More precise and specific marks will be made using your harder pencil. And those harder pencils are nice when you're trying to get a lighter value. My preference is to use the softer pencils and smudge to make the lighter value. But this is where you're going to experiment and try different things. So try using the different pencils, see what you like. You might end up deciding that the HB or the B is really nice for drawing all of your basic lines, and you might end up doing almost all of your shading in a 4B. You don't have to use every single pencil. I just want you to see what's available and experiment with them. Alright, happy shading. Get creative, have fun, but make sure you're using accurate shading and coming up with some different textures.